Welcome back to the channel, USA Coins 69, Treasure Hunters and Coin Collectors. Whether you're here out of curiosity or you're someone who's passionate about rare coins and hidden treasures, today's story is going to open your eyes to something truly surprising, a small, everyday coin that millions of people have touched, traded, and even ignored, but it may just be worth a small fortune. That we're talking about the 1990 Jefferson nickel, a 5-cent coin that, if you know what to look for, could be hiding a stunning value that has stunned even professional collectors. That's right, one of these small nickels recently reached a jaw-dropping value of $98,000. But what makes it so valuable? What should you be looking for in your change, in your drawers, or in those old coin rolls? Let's uncover the mystery behind the 1990 Jefferson nickel, a story filled with unexpected twists, American history, and eye-popping prices that you do not want to miss. Let's start from the beginning. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it featured a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. On the obverse front, we see Jefferson's profile facing left, and on the reverse, his famous home Monticello. It's a coin that every American has seen at some point. It's reliable. It's humble. But hidden in that simple design are secrets that collectors dream about. Fast forward to 1990. That year may seem modern, but in the coin world, even recent decades can produce legends. The U.S. Mint was striking nickels as usual, and hundreds of millions were made across various locations, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, most of them worth just 5 cents, but a tiny few, contain minting mistakes or unusual characteristics that can make their value jump from pocket change to life-changing cash. The key? Mint mark and error identification. Let's talk about that. The 1990 Jefferson nickel can be found with a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But here's the first thing to know: Philadelphia coins in 1990 started including a P mint mark. Unlike older years, that tiny letter, often overlooked by most people, is your first clue. However, the real excitement lies in error coins, rare mistakes that happened at the mint that year. These errors were not intentional, and they were not supposed to leave the mint at all. But due to human error, worn-out dies, or mechanical issues, a few escaped into circulation, and now, decades later, they've become the crown jewels of certain collectors' showcases. Here are the most valuable errors and rare varieties you should be looking for in your 1990 Jefferson nickel. 1. Full steps, FS, variety for collectors of Jefferson nickels. The words, full steps, are pure gold. If you look closely at Monticello on the reverse, you'll see steps leading up to the building. Most nickels have blurred or soft steps due to weak strikes. But a coin with sharp, full, uninterrupted steps is considered a premium rarity. Coins graded MS65 or higher with full steps designation are in extremely high demand. Combine this with any other error or rare surface quality, and the price skyrockets. Point 2. Off-center strikes. Some 1990 nickels were misaligned when struck, causing the design to appear off-center. The more extreme the off-center strike, especially if the date is still visible, the more valuable it becomes. A 40% or 50% off-center strike can bring in thousands of dollars, especially in uncirculated condition. Point 3. Double die obverse, DDO. This is a classic and beloved error. When the die used to strike the front of the coin is misaligned or used more than once incorrectly, it creates a double image. On a 1990 nickel, this may show up in the wording like, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," or even in Jefferson's eye or nose. DDO coins from 1990 have become prized collector's items, with prices that grow every year. Point 4. Clipped planchets. These are coins that were struck on incomplete metal blanks, literally, clipped from the metal strip. These nickels are easy to spot because they'll have a visible crescent or flat edge. Some might think they're just damaged coins, but in reality, they're rare minting errors that increase in value with rarity and condition. Point 5. Wrong planchet errors. This one is truly wild. Some 1990 Jefferson nickels were accidentally struck on blanks meant for dimes, foreign coins, or even pennies. This results in lighter weight coins, smaller diameters, or unexpected coloration. A nickel that's silver colored but weighs like a penny? That could be a jackpot, and if you think all these errors are just a rumor, think again. These rare 1990 Jefferson Nickels are real. They've appeared in online auctions, coin shows, estate sales, and even in someone's change from a fast food restaurant. People who had no idea what they were holding later found out their little nickel was worth thousands. Imagine this: you're rolling coins for the bank. You pick up a 1990 nickel. It looks clean, crisp, and something about it feels different. You take a closer look. The steps on Monticello are razor sharp. There's a strange doubling in the lettering. And maybe, just maybe, it struck off center too. That combination, that perfect storm of rarity, is what makes collectors go wild. So, how do you check your 1990 nickel? Here's your action plan. First, check the date. It should say 1990. Next, look at the mint mark. Is it D or P? Any unusual markings? Examine Monticello's steps. Are they fully detailed and complete? That's a full steps variety. Use a magnifying glass or loupe to check for doubling in letters and numbers. Weigh the coin. It should be about 5.0 grams. Anything off may be an error. Check the edge, any clips, curves, or strange shapes. You might have a clipped planchet, and of course, if it looks off in any way, get it evaluated. There are certified coin grading services like PCGS and NGC that can professionally grade and authenticate your coin. If your 1990 Jefferson nickel holds up to their standards, you could be holding a piece of history worth far more than its face value. So, what's the most that a 1990 Jefferson nickel has ever sold for? Well, in a recent coin auction, one incredible example surfaced. This nickel wasn't just in pristine, uncirculated condition. It had deep luster, was struck with full steps, and showed a rare double die error on the obverse. Graded MS67FS by a top grading company, it caused a bidding war among collectors and dealers alike, and when the gavel finally dropped, that humble 5-cent coin, a 1990 Jefferson nickel, sold for a total of $98,000. That's right, $98,000. All for a nickel. This just proves that treasures don't always shine like gold. Sometimes, they come in small, copper-nickel packages that you carry in your wallet without ever knowing. So go ahead, check your change, open that old coin jar, flip through those forgotten rolls sitting in the corner of your room. Who knows? Maybe, just maybe, the next valuable nickel is already in your hands. Today, we are going deep into the world of the 1964 Jefferson nickel, a coin you may have ignored 1,000 times before. But what if I told you that this one, unassuming 5-cent coin, could be worth up to $100,000? Yes, you heard that right. Now, don't go rushing to the couch cushions just yet. Stick with me as we journey into the remarkable background, secret details, and shocking errors that have made some versions of the 1964 Jefferson nickel worth more than most cars, more than a college education, and in some cases, more than a house. Let's take a step back and ask the question: how did a 5-cent piece from the 1960s become one of the hottest coins in American numismatic history? It starts with a decision made by the United States Mint during a time of national financial tension. In the early 1960s, coin shortages were becoming a serious issue. Silver was being hoarded, people were panic buying rolls of coins, and the mint was struggling to keep up with demand, and so in 1964, the U.S. Mint responded by producing an astonishing number of Jefferson nickels. More than 1.7 billion were struck that year. That's more than any other year in the entire series. They were produced in both Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, marked with AD. To most people, that meant the 1964 nickel was just another common coin. Too many were made to be valuable, right? But here's where the story takes a turn. Despite the huge number produced, certain varieties of the 1964 Jefferson nickel are anything but ordinary. In fact, hidden among those billions are coins so rare, so unusual, that collectors are paying tens of thousands, even six figures, just to own them. Let's talk about why. There are a few key reasons why the 1964 Jefferson nickel has become one of the most talked about coins among serious collectors. Point 1. The mysterious 1964 proof-like and SMS nickels. In 1964, the U.S. Mint had not officially issued any special mint set, SMS, coins. Those wouldn't start until 1965. But some extremely rare 1964 nickels have surfaced over the years showing signs of proof-like or SMS striking, which means they were made with unusually polished dies or prepared under special conditions. These coins have a distinctive mirror-like finish, sharp detail, and a unique strike quality that sets them far apart from typical circulation nickels. Their existence is still debated, and no official records confirm why or how they were made, but here's the exciting part: there are less than 24 known to exist, and each time one shows up at auction, it causes a frenzy. Point 2. Full steps. Jefferson Nickels, a collector's dream. Collectors of Jefferson Nickels place a massive premium on coins with full steps. That's when you can clearly see all 5 or 6 steps leading up to Monticello on the back of the coin. Most 1964 nickels don't have them due to weak strikes and worn dies, but a few, a tiny few, were struck so sharply that every single step is visible. These are designated FS, full steps, by grading companies and can bring in astonishing prices, especially in high mint state condition like MS66 or MS67.3. Double die and overstrike errors. This is where things get wild. The 1964 nickel has been found with several unusual die varieties and errors, including double die obverse, DDO. This happens when the design is stamped more than once on the same die, leading to a doubling effect in the lettering or Jefferson's features. Repunched mint marks, RPMs. The D mint mark for Denver was punched manually in 1964, and sometimes, it was done more than once, resulting in overlapping letters or a ghost-like second D dot off-center strikes and clipped planchets, coins with dramatic errors where the strike was off the center of the coin, or the edge is visibly clipped, are extremely desirable. Each of these variations adds value, sometimes thousands of dollars, and when multiple features appear on the same coin, the value can explode. Now here's something many collectors don't know: because of the coin shortage, the mint had to continue using worn-out dies to keep up with production. That means finding a 1964 nickel in pristine condition is already tough. Combine that with a rare error, or full steps, or a possible special strike, and what you have is a unicorn in the coin world. And here's a tip: if you want to check your 1964 Jefferson nickels at home, here's what to do: look closely at Monticello. Can you count each step clearly? That's a sign of a full steps variety. Check the mint mark. Does it appear doubled, distorted, or punched more than once? Examine the lettering and date under magnification. Look for signs of doubling, especially in God We Trust and 1964. Look at the edges of the coin. Is it perfectly round? Is it thinner or thicker on one side? Could be a planchet error. And finally, check the overall condition. Luster, scratches, wear, these affect grading, and grading determines value. So now you're probably wondering, how high can the value really go? Well, let's talk about a specific coin, a 1964 Jefferson nickel with the Denver mint mark, graded MS67 FS by PCGS. This coin was not just in incredible condition, it had razor-sharp steps on Monticello, no contact marks, and a silver-like proof-like shine that was unlike anything else from that year. It wasn't an ordinary coin. It was a piece of art, frozen in time. When it was put up for auction, collectors came from all corners of the country, and the final selling price, that humble 5-cent piece, a 1964 Jefferson nickel, sold for an astounding $100,000. That's right, $100,000. For a nickel. So the next time you reach into your pocket, the next time you pour out the contents of your piggy bank or sort through an old jar of change, remember this story. Look closer. That worn old nickel could be hiding something extraordinary, and you won't know unless you take the time to look. And if you do find something unusual, protect it. Don't clean it, don't handle it too much. Get it professionally graded by PCGS, NGC, or ANAX. Because one small coin could hold the value of a lifetime. Today, we're unlocking a secret hiding in the palm of your hand, a mystery tucked away in an ordinary coin that most people overlook. But for those who know what to look for, this tiny 5-cent piece could be a golden ticket. Get ready to dive deep into the fascinating story of the 1973 Jefferson nickel, a coin you've probably seen 100 times, but never truly looked at, because buried in change jars, old drawers, and dusty coin albums is a version of this coin that could be worth far more than you ever imagined. In fact, under the right conditions, this one nickel could sell for as much as $90,000. That's right, just 5 cents, transformed into a small fortune. Let's rewind a little bit. The Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, features the side profile of the third President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse. On the reverse, we see his home, Monticello, proudly displayed, a symbol of architecture, independence, and innovation. By 1973, the coin had already been in circulation for 35 years. But that year, something interesting happened, something that would cause a ripple in the numismatic world for decades. The United States Mint continued its regular production of the Jefferson nickel at 2 main locations, Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, marked with a D. San Francisco was primarily striking proof coins that year for collectors. At first glance, the 1973 Jefferson nickel looked just like its predecessors. It was composed of a copper-nickel alloy, weighed 5 grams, and had a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, but beneath that simple appearance lay secrets. Let me explain. While most of the 1973 nickels were produced for everyday use, tossed into vending machines, spent on candy, and forgotten in change trays, a small number of them were struck under rare conditions, with extraordinary results, and it's these rare varieties that have shocked coin collectors, appraisers, and auction houses alike. First, we have what's known as the full steps designation. In coin collecting, this is one of the most coveted details in a Jefferson nickel. On the reverse of the coin, look closely at the steps of Monticello. There should be 5 or 6 perfectly struck lines. Here's the catch. Most nickels, especially from the 1970s, were struck using older, overused dies. That means the details often came out soft, blurred, or worn. So finding a 1973 nickel with crisp, fully visible steps is extremely rare. Grading services like PCGS or NGC will award the full steps label to only those coins that show sharp detail without any interruptions in the steps. These coins, especially in MS66 or MS67 condition, are in high demand and can fetch thousands. Second, the 1973 Jefferson nickel has been found with striking errors and die varieties that send its value through the roof. Some of the rarest include double die obverse, DDO. If the lettering or Jefferson's profile appears slightly doubled, you could have a valuable error coin. Repunched mint mark, RPM. Especially for Denver minted coins, the D mint mark may show signs of being punched twice. Slightly off alignment. Off-center strikes. These coins were misaligned during the minting process, resulting in part of the design being off the coin. The more dramatic, the more valuable, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible. Clipped planchets, where a portion of the metal blank was clipped off before striking, leaving a curved edge. Broad-struck coins. When the collar malfunctions, the coin can spread wider than normal, sometimes with a missing edge rim. Now imagine combining one or more of these errors with a high mint state grade and full steps. That's when the real treasure is discovered. But the story gets even more interesting. During the early 1970s, quality control at the mint wasn't as precise as it is today. Dies were used longer than they should have been. Some presses were misaligned. And all of this opened the door for unique coins to sneak out into the world, into circulation, where many remain undiscovered to this day. So what does that mean for you? It means that if you've got a pile of old change sitting around, if your grandparents gave you a coffee tin full of coins, or if you simply love hunting through coin rolls from the bank, you could stumble upon one of the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever made. Now let's talk grading for just a moment. To truly unlock the potential value of your coin, it needs to be authenticated and graded by a professional service, like Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. These companies examine everything, from strike quality to luster, from surface marks to overall eye appeal. The higher the grade, the more money the coin is worth. And if it earns the coveted full steps designation along with a mint state grade of MS66 or higher, you're looking at a serious collector's piece. But we're not done yet. Did you know that proof versions of the 1973 Jefferson nickel were also struck in San Francisco? These coins were never intended for circulation. They were specially made for collectors, struck using polished dies on high-quality blanks, resulting in a brilliant, mirror-like finish. If you happen to find one of these proofs, especially with a cameo or deep cameo finish, Even they can fetch hundreds or thousands, depending on grade. Now, let's get to the most exciting part of the story. A few years ago, at a major coin auction, a Jefferson nickel dated 1973, with the Denver mint mark, graded MS-67 with full steps, and no visible wear, was brought forward by a private collector. The coin had exceptional strike quality, flawless surfaces, and a unique sharpness rarely seen from that year. Bidders from around the country, and even internationally, placed their bids, and after a fierce battle in the auction room, that humble 5-cent piece sold for an absolutely jaw-dropping $90,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $90,000. All for a coin that most people wouldn't think twice about. So, what can we learn from this? That there are hidden treasures all around us, sometimes right in our own homes. That a simple nickel from 1973 could be a rare gem in disguise. And most importantly, that knowledge is the true key to unlocking value. So next time you hold a Jefferson nickel in your hand, take a closer look. Examine the steps, check the mint mark, notice any unusual details, and if you see something special, protect it, grade it, and treasure it, because you just might be holding a $90,000 fortune. Today's video could prove you absolutely right, because hiding in your change jar, in the back of your drawer, or even in your pocket right now, could be a coin that's worth more than a brand new car. Or even more than some people make in a year. Yes, today we're diving into the unexpected story behind one of America's most underestimated coins, the 1985 Jefferson nickel, a 5-cent piece that's shocked collectors and rocked auctions. At a glance, it might look like just another regular coin. But trust me, if you find the right 1985 Jefferson nickel, you might be holding a small fortune. Let's uncover why. First, let's take a journey back in time, to 1985. Ronald Reagan was president. Michael Jordan was just beginning his legendary NBA career. And coin collecting was entering a fresh wave of popularity thanks to growing interest in die varieties, minting errors, and modern rarities. That same year, the United States Mint produced millions of Jefferson nickels at two major mints, Philadelphia, where coins had no mint mark, and Denver, where coins were stamped with a bold D mint mark. On the surface, the 1985 Jefferson nickel didn't seem all that special. It had the same composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. The same familiar face of Thomas Jefferson looking stoic and sharp. The reverse still featured the elegant outline of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic Virginia estate, but within those mass-produced nickels, a few extraordinary pieces slipped out. Coins that collectors today scramble to find. Coins that tell a story few people even know exists. So what makes a 1985 Jefferson nickel worth far more than face value? It all comes down to a few key factors: mint errors, strike quality, and condition. Let's talk about one of the most important aspects: full steps. On the reverse of the Jefferson nickel, right at the base of Monticello, there are a series of steps. In theory, there are 5 to 6 steps shown in fine detail. However, during the minting process, these steps often get blurred or lost due to worn dies or weak strikes. A Jefferson nickel with clearly defined, uninterrupted steps is incredibly rare, and when that happens on a coin from 1985, you've struck collector gold. Coins with full steps are often certified and graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, and they command premium prices at auctions and collector shows. Now here's the twist: the 1985 issue was notoriously weak in strike quality. That means finding even one 1985 Jefferson nickel with sharp, complete details, including full steps, is exceedingly difficult. And that scarcity is what drives up its value. But we're just getting started. In addition to full steps, there are also rare mint errors and die varieties that collectors prize. Some of the most valuable 1985 Jefferson nickels ever discovered feature double die obverse, DDO, where the date or the word Liberty appears doubled. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during production. Off-center strikes. A coin that is not properly aligned during striking can have part of the design missing, creating an eye-catching and highly desirable error. Clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is missing due to a miscut blank planchet, die cracks and cuds. Imperfections in the die can cause raised, unusual lines or blobs of metal that weren't supposed to be there, often sought after by error. Collectors, repunched mint marks, RPM, where the D or other mint mark appears to be stamped more than once in different positions. All of these varieties add tremendous value to what would otherwise be just a regular coin, but let's not forget the condition of the coin, something that makes or breaks a coin's worth. A coin that has been in circulation, rattling around in pockets and purses, will show signs of wear. But if you manage to find a brilliant uncirculated 1985 Jefferson nickel, one that is bright, clean, and shows no scratches, dents, or dulling, then you're entering the world of high-grade coins. Coins graded MS66, MS67, or even MS68 with full steps are incredibly rare for the 1985 issue. And when one does surface, oh boy, collectors jump at the chance to own it. And then there are the proof coins. Although no regular proof nickels were struck in 1985 for general circulation, some special strike coins and presentation pieces exist. These were made with polished dies and special care, and are dazzling in appearance. Any error or rarity among these proofs is considered extremely desirable. Now here's a little known fact: because the Jefferson nickel has been around for decades, since 1938, many collectors assume only the older, wartime nickels or those from the 1950s or 60s have value. But the 1980s coins, especially in pristine condition, are becoming hot commodities in the collector world. Why? Because more people are starting to realize how rare it is to find coins from that era in top condition. Most have been spent, lost, damaged, or tarnished beyond recognition. But the few that survived untouched are worth hunting for, which brings us to the main event of this video. Not too long ago, a Jefferson nickel from 1985, struck at the Denver Mint, came up for auction. It had been carefully preserved, showing absolutely no signs of wear. The steps on Monticello were razor-sharp. The fields were smooth. The strike was deep and beautiful. Experts graded it a rare MS68 with full steps, and when the auctioneer's gavel fell, this unassuming 5-cent coin sold for a jaw-dropping $93,000. Yes, you heard that right. A $93,000 nickel. Imagine buying a soda with that coin, or dropping it on the floor and never knowing what you lost. That's the mystery and magic of coin collecting. So the next time you come across a 1985 Jefferson nickel, don't toss it aside. Look closely. Examine the details. Use a magnifying glass or a coin loop. Check those steps. Scan for any doubling or off-center strikes, because one coin, one moment, and one discovery could change your life. Today, we're about to uncover the fascinating story of a small coin that's taken the numismatic world by storm. If you've ever held a Jefferson nickel in your hand and thought it was just another piece of change, think again, because today's coin could be hiding a value that's beyond your imagination. That's right. Today we're shining a spotlight on the 1986 Jefferson nickel, a coin you might already have lying unnoticed in a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten old wallet. But if you find the right one, with just the right details, you could be holding a collectible worth tens of thousands of dollars. Now let's step into the past, to the year 1986. The United States was enjoying an era of innovation. MTV ruled television screens, and personal computers were slowly entering homes across the country. Amidst all that, the U.S. Mint was busy producing hundreds of millions of coins to support the country's bustling economy, including the unassuming Jefferson nickel. But as history has shown us again and again, not every coin that leaves the mint is created equal. The Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, features the proud and wise profile of Thomas Jefferson, America's third president. On the reverse side, you'll find an elegant image of Monticello, Jefferson's beautiful plantation home in Virginia. The design is simple but deeply American, a piece of history in your pocket. In 1986, Jefferson nickels were struck at multiple U.S. Mint facilities, most notably in Philadelphia, marked by a P, and Denver, marked with a D. Millions upon millions of these coins were released into circulation, quickly passed from hand to hand and across cash registers in every corner of the country. But here's the catch: only a handful of these 1986 nickels would go on to become true collector's gold. So what exactly makes some of these Jefferson nickels from 1986 worth such an incredible amount of money? Let's break it down. Point 1: of the most significant and sought-after features in any Jefferson nickel is the condition of the Monticello steps. Yes, those little lines at the bottom of the building on the reverse side. In minting terms, This is called the full steps designation. Most Jefferson nickels were struck quickly and under heavy use of the dies, which led to blurring or soft strikes, especially on the fine details like the steps. But if you're lucky enough to find a coin where 5 or 6 distinct steps are visible, clear, unbroken, and fully struck, then you found something special. The 1986 issue is known to be especially weak when it comes to strike quality, making full steps coins from this year extremely rare, and that's just the beginning. There are also valuable mint errors and die varieties that can send the price of a Jefferson nickel skyrocketing. Let's go over a few of them. Double die obverse, DDO, where elements like the date, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty" appear doubled, an error caused during the hubbing of the die. Off-center strikes, a visually striking error where the coin's design is shifted due to misalignment during the strike. The more dramatic the off-centering, the more collectible the coin. Clipped planchets, when the metal blank is improperly cut, leaving a crescent-shaped chunk missing from the edge of the coin. Die breaks and cracks. Sometimes, the minting die develops cracks or chips, which show up as raised lines or blobs on the finished coin. Unique and highly desirable among error collectors. Repunched mint marks, RPM, where the mint mark, like a D, is punched more than once in slightly different positions, creating a doubling or shadow effect. Each of these anomalies adds to a coin's rarity, uniqueness, and value. In the world of coin collecting, the more distinctive a piece is, the more collectors are willing to pay for it. Now, what about the grade of the coin? This is one of the most important factors in determining a coin's market value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS, mint state, 65 or higher, especially with full steps, is considered exceptionally rare. For the 1986 issue, most circulated nickels have scratches, wear, and loss of luster. But imagine finding a 1986 Jefferson nickel with glowing brilliance, razor-sharp detail, and not a single scratch. That's the kind of coin that gets heads turning in auctions, and believe me, collectors will pay top dollar for such pieces. So why is there such a craze over modern nickels like this one? Many collectors have shifted their focus from older, more well-known coins to modern rarities. Coins from the 1980s and 1990s that were once overlooked are now getting the spotlight, simply because finding a high-quality example in today's world is shockingly hard. Back then, nobody thought to save nickels in pristine condition. Most went straight into cash drawers, vending machines, parking meters, and were handled thousands of times before they ended up tossed in a piggy bank. Now, decades later, the few coins that survived in mint condition are virtually treasures. So here's the big question: what's the highest a 1986 Jefferson nickel has sold for? Well, not long ago, a certified 1986 Jefferson nickel struck at the Denver Mint, showing perfect luster, full steps, and graded MS 68, came up for auction. Collectors competed fiercely for it, recognizing its scarcity and importance in modern coinage, and when the final bid was placed, the gavel came down at a stunning $87,000. Yes, that's right, a coin worth 5 cents in your pocket once, today sold for $87,000. Just imagine walking around with that kind of value in your coin purse. It's wild. It's exciting. And it's absolutely real. That's the beauty of coin collecting, the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the potential to turn something so ordinary into something truly extraordinary. So next time you're going through your old change, don't ignore those nickels, especially the ones from 1986. Look for sharp steps, mint errors, and coins that gleam like they just left the mint. You never know what you might find, or how much it might be worth. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the surprising world of valuable nickels, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our latest discoveries. And leave a comment if you've ever found a Jefferson nickel with full steps, or any rare coin that surprised you. Until next time, happy hunting, and remember, one nickel could change your life. Especially if it's a 1986 Jefferson worth $87,000.